Welcome to a very special presentation of the Remedial Film Class Podcast. I'm your host, Dan.
And I'm Travis.
I'm George.
And with us tonight is Deborah Voorhees, director, actress, writer, producer, cult icon? Did I hit them all? I think I hit them all. Thank you for joining us tonight, Deborah. How are you doing, ma'am?
I'm terrific. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Now, this is your first visit to the Remedial Film Class. Our standard format is to make our buddy George, who's never seen any movies, watch a movie that he should have seen 30 years ago. What the hell? And then when he doesn't like it right away, which it's 50-50 or less.
It sometimes happens, yeah.
We fix him by beating him over the head with all the context he was missing because he's never seen any other movies. And then sometimes, if that doesn't work, we call in Peter Weller to directly address how stupid he is.
Okay.
And that works every time.
Yes.
Yeah.
If we get the actor from the movie to correct George, he goes kicking and screaming.
Good.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I got a little excited when you said a beating. I thought maybe you meant like with a baseball bat or something. That's way more fun than with just words, but okay, we'll go with that. Well, what can you expect of a horror director? You know, she always wants to see the blood.
Yes. Yes. And it has to be practical.
Absolutely.
Now, we brought you in here tonight because you have a very exciting movie coming out on October 22nd.
Yeah, I'm really thrilled about it. It's called 13 Fanboy, and it's about an obsessed fan who is stalking the actors from Friday the 13th and also Halloween and beyond. As you know, Dee Wallace is in it from E.T., Halloween, Cujo, The Howling. I mean, there's just so many. What film hasn't she been in is probably easier to list. She's amazing. We've got Kane Hodder, who played Jason 4 times in the film, C.J. Graham, who played Jason in part 6. We have Judie Aronson, Tracy Savage, myself. We have Lar Park Lincoln, Final Girl in part 7. We have Jennifer Banco from 7. She played Tina, the younger self of Lar Park Lincoln in the film. And we have Ron Sloan, and I'm sure I'm missing somebody. Oh, we had a cameo from Carol Locatel, also from 5. So we are opening on October 22nd in select theaters across the U.S., as well as on about every major VOD platform you can think of, like Apple TV, iTunes, Comcast, you know, any kind of pay-per-view type of, streaming group out there. So we're super excited. We don't have a date for our DVD releases yet, but it'll be about 2 weeks after the opening of the film. I'm not 2 weeks, I'm sorry, 2 months after the opening.
Now, I couldn't be more excited for this movie. When I first heard rumors that it was going to come together, I think was it pre-COVID even, the initial Indiegogo?
It was, yes, it was pre-COVID. We definitely got slowed down because of COVID, but luckily we were finished filming. But we held our release because all the theaters were closed, and it would just have been kind of a kiss of death for us.
Yeah.
So, but we're very excited about finally bringing this to everyone.
I'm very excited because I'm the resident old guy. Like George is in his mid-30s or early 30s. So is Dan. I'm 46. So
you're the resident old guy. You are talking to the wrong woman because I just turned 60.
Oh, you look great. No, I'm a child of the 80s. So this kind of movie is basically the stuff we used to do in our backyard with our VHS, the camcorders. We would go and make our own Jason movie, or we would make our own Myers movie, and we would do all the kills and all that stuff we wanted to see. And that's when I was reading about this movie, I was like, this is the ultimate fan service type movie where you're getting all the actors that we're all familiar with.
Right.
We love, like Kane comes up at least 3 or 4 times an episode for us.
I bet.
And CJ too. I love him. I've been going to cons since I was 13, so I've met all these guys at Weekend of Horrors, Fangoria, Chiller, Monster Mania. So
That's wonderful.
Yeah, I've been around them a lot. I love these guys, so I'm very excited about this.
I think one aspect of it that you might really like in this film is our Fanboy. He came from an abusive background, and so he was locked in his basement, and his only friends he really had really became more family, and that was he had the entire collection of the Friday the 13th and Halloween. And so to him, the characters became his family. And when he wrote to us, he was deeply hurt when nobody responded back. And he felt angry and felt rejected. So I like stories that really deal with the supposed bad guy, because usually there's something in their background that points to something that helped drive him that way. And sometimes it's as simple as literally a brain deformation, such as, not having a full frontal cortex.
Is this a verb? I guess you can't give that away. I'm curious. I can't wait to see if it's what choice of killer you have. Is it a verbal killer? Is it just a shape? I can't wait. But I know you can't tell us. But I'm excited.
Right. Well, it is. I can tell you that it is a thriller. It's a horror movie, and it's a whodunit.
Nice.
Ooh, now see that gets Dan back into the conversation. I am the resident nerd from those weird 70s giallo, the Italian slashers that came before the 80s slashers in America, and they're all mostly whodunits. And so I was on board before, but now I'm I'm in the front of the line. And I cheated to get here. I was so excited. That kind of thing.
Oh, that is so cool. I'm so glad to hear that. Yeah, I love whodunits too. I really do, because I want to be guessing.
Exactly.
And it's not that I can't appreciate a film that's not a whodunit, like Cape Fear. It's absolutely magnificently done. But there is it has that intense terror going on the whole time that they manage to sustain even without the whodunit. But I am a huge fan of the whodunits.
Nice. Now, I heard you speak about practical effects for this, and you're not doing any CGI.
Correct.
Who is it? A named person or a studio that's coming to do the effects, or is it
absolutely Nora Hewitt?
Okay.
She was she was actually the protege to Tom Savini. He's the one who suggested her to us, and she also is if you'll remember Face Off, which is the TV show that you would pit the special effects artists together in competition. She won season 9. Okay. And then she also brought on another competitor from the same season, and her name's Meg Wilbur.
Yes.
And so the two of them did our special effects.
Awesome. Yeah, I was excited about that because when I was a young boy, I was the weirdo that had a picture of Tom Savini on my wall. So
friend of the show.
Yeah.
That is so fantastic.
I loved him. I loved Jeff Yeager, Nicotero. Like they were my sports heroes. So to hear that you took you got one of his proteges is awesome. And I watched that show religiously, so that's exciting as well.
Isn't it a great show?
Oh, I miss it.
Yeah.
Now, Deborah, I'm looking at the cast list. I'm seeing, you are the director, the writer. You've got a female special effects crew. Mm-hmm. Have you had time, since you said it's been completed a while, have you had time to reflect on how the female voice affects this movie? Like what different nuanced perspective you've brought, say, versus like a Dario Argento or somebody, from the male perspective writing from, male production studio, male special effects. Have you had time to reflect on how much this change in perspective, this different perspective than what we're used to in Hollywood, has really added to your film?
I don't know how to answer that. It's a really good question, though. I think that, I mean, my producing partner and my co-writer is Joel Paul Rysick. So I do think that we had influences from both. Is it a different movie than what Joel would have done without me? Absolutely. Does it change because I have a vagina versus his penis? I don't know. It maybe. Um, I know that there were a couple times, like, okay, here's an example of something that happened where we're doing the Indiegogo video, and there's a spot where this young lady is supposed to slip off her underwear and jump naked into some, deep dark water, and so I said something about, yeah, we were having some trouble with the camera and some issues, and I had everything I needed about one shot. I wanted to get the one, with just her taking her panties off of her feet. And when it wasn't looking like it was going to work, I was like, it's okay, we're going. And I heard audible gasp from the men. And they're like, oh, you can't miss that shot.
It's iconic. It's a trope.
And I just started laughing because I was like, okay, we're going to work a little harder and get you guys this shot. Because to me, it just looks like dirty underwear.
No.
And they started laughing. Oh, don't ruin it for us.
Hey, Spielberg did it in Jaws, I believe.
Clearly, there are some differences. But I don't know what to say about it. Some people ask me what it's like to be a woman in horror. I don't really look at it that way. I am a director in horror. I love horror, but it doesn't, I don't think of it in terms of male female roles. But that clearly is a difference that I didn't pick up, but I got quite the chuckle listening to the guys, because I literally heard the guys go
Well, that came up in our episode for Scream, because we were talking about how some of the dialogue was awkward for the female characters, and we spent 20 minutes talking about Kevin Williamson's writing of Sydney, and some of the things that she says is kind of straight out of a guy's mind, and maybe he should have asked what a girl would have said.
Maybe he should have consulted.
Yeah. He could have talked to any women ever to find out that women don't talk like that.
Right. Yeah, it was like you're in a boys' locker room sometimes when she talks. So there's definitely a great balance, and when you have two people working all cylinders and they're two opposite sexes, you do get both inputs, which is good.
Right. I agree.
Now
I'm excited about Dee Wallace, because she's kind of like my mom.
She is so amazing to work with.
Yeah.
I have to say, as a director, it is a great honor for me to direct her. And I actually was in a couple of scenes with her too, which was, just pretty much amazing. And just a super kind, loving, very giving person. I was pretty nervous about acting after so many years because, I left Hollywood and I became a journalist. I worked with the Dallas Morning News. I got my college education. I worked with the Fort Worth Star-Telegram and some magazines, and I taught. I went and started teaching British literature and different things before I got back into filmmaking again. And so it had been a while. I hadn't practiced my chops. I hadn't really worked on it. And, she's a very generous and kind person to work across from as an actor as well. And she'll give you everything you need to see you through the scene, which is really wonderful.
Yeah, I would cast her. If I were directing, I would cast her in everything.
Yeah,
she's so versatile.
Wonderful.
She's the fifth member of your Predator team.
Yeah. Yeah, she would be my Schwarzenegger, definitely.
They're in the trees.
But you think about it, the first movie I ever saw in the theater was E.T., and then you have The Howling and Cujo and just everything that she's done through the 80s and the 90s, and then she pops up in this movie. You're like, oh my god, she's like a character actor, but she plays herself, but she can also play all kinds of different emotions. But then she can be like hard ass, she could be sweet. So yeah, she's kind of perfect.
Yeah, she is. I totally agree with that.
Now, you touched on the fact that you left Hollywood, you came back. What was it that brought you back? Was it the story that brought you back, or did you have an opportunity and the
Well, I
story
had
came from it?
actually, yeah, I had actually started um, back in filmmaking about 10 years ago. I actually, when I started teaching, I didn't really think about what it would mean to be naked in Friday the 13th. Because for me, it was so long ago, it wasn't a complete non issue. It wasn't anything I really even thought about. But the kids recognized me, and word got around pretty quickly. And so I ended up getting thrown out of 2 high schools and wasn't able to teach. Nobody had any problem with the violence in the film, but they were quite upset that there was nudity in it, which I found to be quite ironic. But I could have at least respected their reasoning if they were worried about, the violence end of it. But worrying about nudity, I thought was really very silly. But nonetheless, that's what it was. And but it was a good thing, honestly, because now I am I'm back in the film industry, which is where I belong. And I love being on the other side of the camera. I had a blast being in front of the camera for this one too, but being behind the camera is absolutely 100% my passion. I've done a couple other films, and the first one basically was my getting my chops up. It was my film school, which is called Billy Shakespeare, which is about, what if William Shakespeare was not born until now, and how he would be received in Hollywood. And that one was a lot of fun. I learned a lot. And then I started doing a lot of music videos and shorts and different things like that. And then I partnered up with Joel Paul Reisig, and we started talking about another project. And then he and I came up with this idea together, and decided that this is where we need to go. And a lot of it was answering fans, because so many of the horror fans that I've gotten to know at conventions and online and stuff desperately wanted something with their cast members. And I couldn't really go out and make a Friday the 13th movie, because who even owns the rights?
Right.
And
Good
plus,
question.
getting the rights would be very, very expensive. And so most of their ideas revolved around doing something in the Friday the 13th universe. And I didn't want to do a fan film either, because I want to make movies that make money so I can make more movies. If I don't
Right.
make money, I don't make more movies. And so this idea where we're talking about people who are playing themselves, so they're actors using their own names, and they are actors from the series. That is something we can do outside of the Friday the 13th universe. We don't have Jason in this, we have Fanboy.
Right.
And for me, it's a much scarier concept, because we're talking about something that could actually happen.
Yeah.
Not many of us, we love the scary horror movies and the jump scares and this and that. And, but we don't really worry when you go out to the parking lot that Jason is really going to come up out of the grave and come and get us. But this is actually can happen. And so I think this adds an extra layer of fear. And the mere fact that people are playing themselves in the film is a whole new way of doing it. And it's nothing like Nightmare on Elm Street's take on it. It's completely different.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up. I'm surprised that this idea hasn't been done more, because it can take you anywhere. And I remember them doing it with Nightmare, and it was suffered the 90s stigma, where they were just kind of, there were certain things that just weren't working, but they pushed through it and they did it instead of fixing it.
Right.
But yeah, it was neat to see the actors play themselves. But yeah, there were definitely things that weren't thought out. So I'm assuming you probably thought them out perfectly. So we'll see.
I think I have. Well, and it's not something that's pulling the two things together.
Right.
These are the actual actors, not a character in a film, whereas they were mixing the two.
Yeah, you mentioned Cape Fear, so that kind of intrigues me because the fan mentality is like you said could happen tomorrow.
Right.
I think it has happened.
Yeah,
hasn't
many
it?
times.
I mean,
I'm sure. Isn't one of the actresses in this movie? Didn't she have an actual experience?
Well, we actually, believe it or not, we had three.
Three.
One of them didn't end up. We did invite Adrienne King, but she had some pretty severe circumstances that made the film too uncomfortable for her, and so she bowed out. However, Lark Park Lincoln was stalked for 6.5 years, and she's in the film. And Judie Aronson had a stalker.
Wow.
Only Lars, though, had to do with Friday the 13th. The other stalkers had one with Judy had to do with the TV show she was doing with Aaron Spelling, I believe. And Adrienne King's was actually different too. But the stalker did find her through Friday the 13th, but it was not necessarily related to Friday the 13th.
Gotcha.
So a note for George, when we eventually get around to watching Tenebrae, I want you to remember this conversation because the experiences that these actresses are having with their stalkers can lead to a movie like 13 Fanboy, where Argento had a very similar experience, and it led to Tenebrae. And when you've seen both movies, I think you're going to see a clear dichotomy in how he handled it versus how this movie handles it. And I can't wait. I can't wait to show you that movie too.
Okay.
No, thank you. I'm excited about this one.
Now, George, are you excited for 13 Fanboy? Have we sold you? Have we built up your anticipation enough?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, Dan, it feels like it could be like a biography of your life.
Except for the stalking and killing part, right? Like, right?
I mean, well,
right?
I don't know anything about that. I haven't seen the movie yet.
Okay,
But you do hang out in the basement a lot. You're a huge fan of Friday the 13th
and movies that no one else has seen.
And I don't know anyone that is as close to these characters as you. So yeah, I'm excited to see you portrayed on the silver screen.
I'm a little scared of myself because I have a VHS collection. So yeah, I like
Travis has actually been arrested for reenacting scenes.
I was brought
from these
home
movies.
by the cops. I was not arrested. Yeah, we don't have to tell that story.
It's on tape. If you want to listen to it at some point, I'll send you the link. It's pretty silly.
I was 14 and I walked around as Michael Myers, and I didn't know you couldn't take a kitchen knife outside.
Make better choices, Travis. Make better choices.
Yes. Dumbass.
Oh, how funny.
Can I ask you, just for my own satisfaction, a couple of questions about your work in the 80s?
Sure.
Appointment with Fear. I'm still waiting on a Blu-ray release. Did you have any direct interaction with Mustafa Akkad?
Do I have a direct what?
Did you get to work with Mustafa Akkad directly at all? Because after we lost him, I've been trying to collect any stories I can from when he was still with us.
I don't think I have anything that I could share with you on that. No, but I did really enjoy working on that film. It was a lot of fun.
And what was because you've got 3 films in 85, and I don't really have a good idea of the chronology. You're in Friday 5 at some point, obviously. Avenging Angel, which is now alive and well on Blu-ray. Vinegar Syndrome has brought that to a whole new generation of viewers.
That's a blast from the past, that movie.
Well, and the video quality is insane. Like the love that Vinegar Syndrome put into that Blu-ray. I mean, it's it's special.
They managed to have really good quality with it. I haven't seen it on the Blu-ray. It looks really good.
It's shockingly good. It looks like it was filmed in the past 10 years because that 35 millimeter
Really?
cleans up real nice. It's
nice. Yeah.
Wow, that's interesting.
I didn't think I'd be selling Deborah Voorhees on buying this Blu-ray, but you should totally check it out. It's real good.
Neat.
But then
I'm gonna go get it too.
You know, Friday 5 is maybe the most controversial Jason movie of the 80s, right? The 90s get really wonky for Jason, but I mean, we haven't addressed the elephant in the room. You kind of hinted toward it a little bit, Deborah. Do you mind? I just have to ask. And it's because if I don't, my friends will say you talked to Deborah Voorhees and you didn't ask her. You're running through the field, and I guess it's like the edge of the woods. And the guy says, "Watch the dirt, watch the dirt." How did you stay in character? I have to know. That's my favorite line in that. Well, okay, second, "crap my ass" is the funniest line in any of the Jason movies. But other than "crap my ass," "watch the dirt" is insane, and you don't break. How did you not break? Was that rehearsed or was that all off the cuff from him?
You know, I can just say I'm a brilliant actress, and I don't know why I didn't win an Academy Award.
Here's the thing: if more people focused on that scene for the "watch the dirt," you might have been nominated. Like
exactly. I think you're right. I think that was sorely missed, and I'm miffed about that.
I have seen some improv in my days, and your ability to just yes and keep moving. I mean, that sells me on 13 Fanboy right away. I don't even need to see the trailer.
Brilliant, wasn't it?
My goodness.
I'm telling you.
And you should send her the link for that video that the band did.
Well,
did you see the performance coming out of the cop car? Come on, how was I missed? Come on. I mean, that was movie, just pure gold, wasn't it?
Friday 5 is so infamous for great reasons. We've spoiled the heck out of it in our Friday 5 episode. So everybody probably knows the big twist. But again, that's a whodunit, right? That is a return to form. They're going for a giallo feel, if you will. Way underrated. Overhated, I would say, for certain reasons. But
you know, I have to say though, that is really more a thing of the past, and I honestly didn't even know that was an issue until, you know, it's been several years now, but the movie had been out a long time before I even knew it was an issue, because I had never experienced anything negative with fans saying anything negative at all. So I know it was an issue for a certain number of fans, but if you look at it realistically, the movie made good money. It has some of the best kills in the franchise. It goes back to the original film. It's in keeping with that film more than any other one, because they're both about bereaved parents who are responding in an irrational way by killing people who really didn't have anything real to do with their child's death. And so I think it fits in quite well. I think you really had just a certain group of extremely vocal people, but I can't tell you how many people come up to me and say this is their favorite film. How many people come up and say, at one time, I was kind of a butthead about this, but, I went back and watched it and now it's my favorite.
It actually aged well. It aged well because especially nowadays, it's like the time of cover bands. And like Roy Jason is the ultimate cover band in horror movies. Like he's
a cover killer.
Yeah, he killed. He's one of my favorite Jasons, and he's not even Jason. Like
right.
And they do the whole POV from the first movie, where you don't really see the killer till the end. So it's like, it's an homage to the original.
Right.
They tried
he's
something
just a
different.
really nice guy too.
Well, and the Danny Steinman catalog has really, I think Blu-ray has done a lot for him, and it's a shame he's not with us to see so much of it. But Savage Streets. I mean, these movies, you can't make them today, right? It's a different world. but that just makes them age so much better because they are of a time. And I mean, she shoots people with a crossbow. It's amazing.
Right.
It's a shame he didn't get to do more. I would have liked to see his Friday 6. I mean, I love Friday 6, but I would like to see Steinman's Friday 6. I think it'd be vastly different.
Right. I imagine it would be.
Now, one thing Travis wanted me to bring up, and I'm going to blame him because he brought it up and then moved on.
Travis.
Have you been made aware of a song called Wolfie's Just Fine, A New Beginning?
Yes.
Okay. What is your take on that? Because of all the people in the world who would be interested, I need to know. What does Deborah Voorhees think about that video?
I think that it was absolutely brilliantly done. I think the concept belongs in a full-fledged movie of its own, of a kid and his experiences like that. And I was deeply, deeply honored to be a part of it. I had the pleasure of meeting Jean LaJoie, and most of you know he was on the show called The League. He played the role of Taco for like 12 years, and he's an absolute brilliant comedian as well as songwriter and musician. And so, yeah, I'm deeply honored by it and absolutely adore it. And that young kid who basically plays him, he talked to me and told me some about his upbringing. And he had a very religious family. And it's really about, what he went through. And I think it's brilliant.
Yes.
It's my story too. I mean, I think so many of us, it's funny because when I showed Wolfie's Just Fine, A New Beginning, I'm going to say the whole name because it's so awesome. Everybody needs to Google it. I showed it to George during our Friday 5 episode. And I said, listen, you need to understand, you may not understand the feelings this kid is showing, but this video, makes me feel things that aren't fun. It takes me, it's like a PTSD flashback to 3rd grade, with a pirated VHS tape from my scary neighbor who taped it off HBO, seeing scary movies that I should not be watching. Right. This is us. This is, and kids today with YouTube and all these things that give you so much democratized access to things that have way less control than they used to. They're never going to experience it like that. But kids of the 80s and 90s, there are many of us who had that exact life.
Right. Yeah, no, I do. I think that so many, Jean LaJoie ended up getting a message from Edgar Wright. He's the director from Baby Driver and Shaun of the Dead and stuff. And he said that was his experience. And it ended up that he was a fan of mine. And I was like, John, yeah, come on, introduce me. And so I had the pleasure of visiting and chatting with him on the phone as well. So it was pretty cool.
That's awesome.
That is amazing. Yeah, Edgar Wright is, I think, an unequaled genius.
Isn't he brilliant?
At that tier of mainstream. That's the thing I can't get over, is he's one of us, right? But somehow other people like him too, and he makes a lot of money. So I don't know what his trick is, but he's doing the things that we all want to be making, right? Shaun of the Dead, my God, Hot Fuzz, my God. And I hear that his new movie might be kind of a giallo, and it's like, he gets to make giallos now? Why doesn't everybody who's like us get what he gets? I don't get it. I'm envious, guys. I'm a little bit envious.
That's awesome. What's the future for is this going to be kind of a franchise, or do you already have projects in the queue?
I definitely have some different ideas that I'd like to do. I have a ghost story that we're working on right now. And yes, if this does well with the fans and they love it, they will definitely see another one.
Carpenter followed up Halloween with a ghost story.
Yep.
So
how many copies do I need to buy to ensure that this happens?
That's a very good question.
I'm not against manipulating the market, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, right.
I like a man like you.
Well, I'm selfishly thinking I missed out on the Indiegogo promotion where I could send in an audition tape. So, I'm just looking forward to other projects that I can send you a tape.
Awesome. I would love to hear from
and
you.
artwork.
And artwork.
Yep.
And artwork.
Absolutely. Well, that was one of the things that I really wanted with this film. I mean, this was a film for fans. And so that's why I did the Indiegogo, was to give everybody a chance. And that's why I had fans, send in artwork. I had them send in their music. I had them, audition. And, on and on. I tried to find different ways to include the fans in everything as much as I could. And if you go and you look at our trailer, there are actually quite a few fans just right there in that trailer that came out and were a part of this. So I think that's pretty freaking cool.
Yes. Where did you film it? In California?
Mostly in Ruidoso, New Mexico.
Okay.
It's all in the Lincoln County area of New Mexico. It's really beautiful here. It's in the mountains, and yeah, it's a gorgeous place.
Sweet.
I'll have to look at a map.
Yeah,
see where that's at.
We're big on geography on this show because we live about 4 minutes from Haddonfield, New Jersey, which is basically where Deborah Hill
and about 4 minutes from Voorhees, New Jersey.
Yeah.
Oh,
so,
how neat!
Yeah. So Deborah Hill lived in Haddonfield, and when she wrote Halloween, she based it on the town that we trick or treat in every year with our kids.
Yep.
So
that is so cool.
So we talk about geography a lot when it comes up. Maps and
we have like a song for whenever we bring up maps. Yeah,
the Dora Explorer map song.
We never did actually get the song, but it had been discussed in just about every episode because it just keeps happening. Our timing is really unique here because the last episode that published on our feed was actually John Carpenter's The Fog. So we talk about Carpenter following a slasher with a ghost story because that's literally where all our heads were a week ago. And then next week we have Halloween 3, the Friday the 13th part 5 of the Halloween movies, right? The controversial one that splits the crowd between the vocal, angry people and the quiet, happy, loving the best movie in the franchise people.
Right.
Stop it.
See, even Deborah doesn't agree with you, Dan.
Her laugh is genuine.
I do agree.
Yeah, we may have spent an hour and 45 minutes last night with me desperately dying on the hill trying to convince both these jokers that Halloween 3 has artistic merit.
Well, there you go.
It was worth it.
It was
good.
Worth it, yeah.
Well, we promised you a half hour. You've given us more than that. I can't thank you enough for being so gracious with your time. We cannot wait for this film. We are going to publish this interview the day before it comes out, and we are going to hit our socials hard so that our fans know that we can't wait for 13 Fanboy.
I so appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for having me on.
Thank you so much. Also, Travis is ready for 14 Fangirl whenever, his people will call your people, however that goes.
It will never change from 13. However, we can do a part 2 because you just cannot have a 14. No, that doesn't work.
It's true.
It's just a comedy. You got to have that unlucky number, which is my lucky number.
Hence, when they made Saturday the 14th, that thing ended up straight to video. Woo!
Yeah. It's so much fun, but it is definitely the comic end of it,
It's the airplane version of
the
Addams Family. Like, it was just weird. That movie was out there.
I also love the number 13. Even before I ever saw any Jason movies,
right?
13 was always like the number that gave everyone like the heebie-jeebies, and I just enjoyed that so much so that I all the important things that happened in my life happened on the 13th, like dating my now wife, getting married to my now wife. All of these things happened on the 13th.
Oh,
Your daughter's going to be 13 one day.
Yeah, she'll be 13 one day. That's true.
We might be reaching a bit now for inspiration.
Yeah,
like you know how like when you step into an elevator and you see the buttons and it's like 12, 14. Like why isn't there a 13th floor?
What's going on the 13th
this
floor?
Is really this is really a thing. People are really creeped out about 13. I love it.
It's so funny.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited for this movie because when we were watching all the Friday movies, Dan would always ask me, "Where do you think we're going from here, George?" Mm-hmm. Right? And
because he was always wrong.
one of my, I'm guessing, right? Because I haven't seen anything. One of the things I proposed was that even though, say Jason's dead, it could still continue if you had, like a person theoretically that was kind of like predisposed to this and kind of like a copycat or someone who had like a, anyway, the character,
Tommy Jarvis.
Well, after the fourth, what is it called? The final chapter. Mm-hmm. I absolutely thought that Tommy Jason was going to be a thing.
Right. Hashtag Tommy Jason.
Because he had that, obviously that he had that, predisposition for that kind of stuff and the traumatic experience.
And they were building up to it. Even in part 5, they were like, "Oh, this is going to happen." And
which is why I think everyone was pissed off about part 5. But it is what it is. But this character, 13 Fanboy, sounds like it's going to be, my theory of where, Friday the 13th could have gone. So that's exciting.
I think it's going to be interesting to see. I mean, the truth is that Jason has been supposedly dead since the first one. So he's somehow or another became an undead as a child and somehow managed to grow into an adult. So realism doesn't necessarily have to play into it if they ever want to make another Friday the 13th film. But meanwhile, I'll be playing in my own playground and having fun there.
Can I tell you one of my favorite theories on the Friday series that always gets me very, very nasty looks from the hardcore fans?
Mm-hmm.
So Jason dies in part 1. And then in part 2, an individual rumored to be Jason begins murdering people. But he doesn't have a driver's license. We don't see a birth certificate. And when she says, Jason, mother is talking to you, he cocks his head like Michael Myers. Or maybe he's like, this lady thinks my name is Jason? Jason's been dead for 15 years. And then he looks so different the next day in part 3. I'm thinking that this is like Jason's cousins, maybe his brothers, and then the skinny one gets killed and the big burly guy shows up. And we just assume these people are Jason.
What was it, Bart Voorhees? We postulated?
Yeah. Well, in the remake, they retcon it and they basically show him that he didn't drown. So then they kind of basically say he's not dead. And he's never undead.
Cop out.
Not the zombie Jason.
That's a cop out.
It's a cop out.
Right. Well, and that's the thing is that's all they have to pretty much do is either bring him up out of the ground or say he's not dead or that something else happened. I mean, hey, it's called movie magic, and I'm all for it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what's always been cool is he's the campfire story.
Mm-hmm.
So
the story that I would like to see done that I think would be really interesting would be in the Friday the 13th realm is the his beginning story, what he went through as a child with his parents, and take us into maybe some of the first early kills, not anything that we've currently seen, but something that would be more unexpected that we didn't know about yet. To me,
put a pin in
that once again gives us a real look at the killer, as opposed to just writing him off as evil, but to let us see why he became what he became.
Yes, his origin story I would want to see. I was not happy with seeing a Myers origin story because I always felt like what Rob Zombie did was almost change the character. Like I I love the fact that Michael Myers was in a stable home, 2 parents, happy, but he still killed his sister.
Should have been happy, yeah.
Well, I mean,
Right.
he didn't come up in this wackadoo house where, his mom was this and his dad was
he
his
wasn't
stepdad drunk
and all that.
Yeah. I do agree. I like that story better. That to me makes it more intense, is, having him as, the brother like that.
Yeah.
In his particular case, it probably literally is, missing part of his cerebral cortex.
Right.
Because without that, you don't have that conscience there to tell you the difference between right and wrong. I mean, yes, the person may still need to be stopped, but it's hard not to have some empathy for someone. I mean, you have empathy if somebody is, missing an arm or a leg, but missing a part of your brain can, I can't imagine what horrific world they have to live in without that.
Wow.
But you kind of point out, like, the origin of Jason, you're kind of doing with the origin of 13 Fanboy.
Right.
You're showing his childhood, or at least his adolescence, and what his parents did to him, and the PTSD of that environment, and the punishment, and the seclusion, and the
we don't go
confinement.
into a whole lot of detail. That definitely leaves the door open for us to experiment with it. But we do get into, the knowledge of this is how his life began. But I think we still definitely have room for a true origin story for 13 Fanboy.
Nice. Now, how much is Feldman in it? Is he a cameo, or is he actually
He's definitely more than a cameo.
Okay,
he
good.
is not one of the leads, but he would be what's considered a feature role. And he's quite hysterical. He's definitely comic relief and loads of fun.
Awesome.
He is the one character, though, who does not play himself. Everybody else does. He's playing a character which is a creepy producer. It made more sense for him not to play himself, since that doesn't really have anything to do with them. Each of the characters, I want them to have something about them that reflected who they were in real life. And that character didn't fit him at all, so it made more sense for him not to play himself.
Plus, he's always been an open book, so it's kind of, how do you refilm basically everything we've seen and know already?
Right.
No, I'm excited to see him as well.
Great. Yeah, no, he's very good in it. He really is.
Sweet. Well, at the beginning of this interview, I knew that I was supposed to be excited for this movie, and now I am.
Awesome.
Oh,
and I know why.
To hear that. Well, thank you.
That's good.
Thank
you so much, Deborah. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you guys. I really do appreciate it. I am very excited about this film, and so thank you guys for everything. And I don't know if you need it or not, but I can send you a list of where it's playing and where you can get it. I mean, just about every VOD in demand kind of outlet. We've got a bunch of them that will be in. So.
Very good.
That'll be great. We'll include that in the post when we share this interview, because we have a dedicated group of fans who they keep downloading the same Friday the 13th episodes over and over again, which is wonderful. That a year later, they're still our most popular episodes. So I know we've got a built-in group of people that are going to be shelling out those VOD dollars and hopefully heading out to a theater near them if they're lucky enough to be at an area where they can go do so, because my goodness, this is, I can't think of a movie that hits all the right notes for me and for our fan base like this one. I mean, ever? I mean, this is for us. You did this for us. You didn't do this for you. I mean, you did it for you too, I'm sure. But like, nobody makes movies for us.
I really did. I actually did do it for you guys. It's true.
Now we just have to show up and make it viable to do some more
have to do
ones
it for you.
us. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Now we have to do our part.
Yeah, we do our part.
That's right. It's up to you guys now. I'm releasing it on October 22nd. It's out of my hands. It's up to you guys.
We can't
just
wait.
Remember, mostly every movie that became iconic, it did have to walk a little bit before it ran. So we're
This
like,
is true.
yeah,
This is
it's
true.
like sometimes movies don't get the reception that's supposed to, and then all of a sudden, like back then, it was
this one
rental.
will.
This one will, because it's a fan service movie, and those do really well. But it's like you expect certain things, but sometimes it gets legs a little later, and then before you know it, you're like, oh my gosh, this thing's taken off, and we were nervous, but why? Because the content is perfect, so it should be fine.
No, you're right. It does. Sometimes there's a snowball effect that has to happen. But hopefully we will, since we don't have a huge advertising budget, we do have some, but we don't have a huge one like the studios do.
Right.
May take a little longer to get the word out, but we are being featured in a lot of our VOD platforms that will help us out a bunch. So just getting people aware of the film. I feel like once people become aware of the film, we will find our audience, and we'll have a good audience.
Well, I just went to Monster Mania and I couldn't even walk in the place. So your audience has probably found you already. They're just waiting for the release.
Fantastic.
Yeah. They're good people, and you know that because I've seen you give interviews about the convention crowd. So they're
they're wonderful. They're so much fun. Well, thanks so much, guys. I really appreciate you.
Thank you so much. This is the most exciting thing we've done all year, and now we get to see the movie, which will pay it all off now.
Well, I would love to hear your thoughts on it.
And we would love to have you back next October to do a, hey, everybody's seen it now, so let's talk about it kind of situation if you've got the time.
Absolutely. I'd love to do that. Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.
See you.